They say the wedding day is the happiest day of a man's life. But what if the happiest day was just a well-dressed lie? What if, behind the flowers and the vows, behind the smiles and the laughter, there was something rotting, something I wouldn't uncover until years later? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, I want to share another touching story with you. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It motivates us to create more quality content for you. Let's continue. I remember the day like it was yesterday. The sunlight poured through the stained glass windows of the chapel, scattering colors onto the white satin of my bride's dress. Emma was stunning, more than stunning. She was ethereal, a vision of grace as she walked down the aisle, her eyes locked onto mine. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment my life changes forever. And it did, but not in the way I expected. The ceremony was perfect, almost too perfect, like a dream that you wake up from and struggle to hold on to. I remember the way my hands trembled as I slipped the ring onto her finger, how she whispered, "I love you," just loud enough for me to hear. The guests clapped, my best man patted me on the back, and the priest pronounced us husband and wife. I kissed her, and the world blurred into a warm, golden haze. Then she disappeared. It wasn't dramatic at first. No gasps, no sirens, no hushed whispers of scandal. Just a quiet vanishing, like a magician's trick done in plain sight. One moment she was in my arms, laughing at some joke my cousin made, and the next, she was gone. The reception carried on. Guests assumed she was freshening up, or maybe overwhelmed by the emotions of the day. And I believed it too, because why wouldn't I? I remember asking her maid of honor, Laura, if she had seen Emma. She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. A second too long. She's just, taking a breather, Laura said, her smile a little too forced. You know how she gets when things feel too big. That should have been my first clue. Emma wasn't the type to get overwhelmed. She thrived in chaos, loved attention, basked in the glow of being the center of the room. And yet, I brushed it off, convincing myself it was nothing. I wandered the venue looking for her, a glass of champagne in one hand, my phone in the other. I called. No answer. Texted. No reply. It wasn't until an hour later that she returned, breathless and flushed, smoothing down her dress as if she had just been caught in the wind. I needed a moment, she told me, kissing my cheek. It's all so intense. I nodded, not wanting to press her. This was my wife. My new wife. And if she needed space, I would give it to her. But even then, something in her eyes didn't sit right with me. Something I couldn't name. That night, as we lay in the honeymoon suite, tangled in sheets in the remnants of our wedding celebration, I asked her about it. She smiled, tracing her fingers down my chest. I just wanted one last moment alone, she said softly. One last breath before I was yours forever. I wanted to believe her. And for years, I did. But secrets don't stay buried forever. And the past has a way of clawing its way back to the surface, especially when it was never really buried at all. Time has a way of dulling suspicion. It smooths over inconsistencies, makes us forget the things we don't want to examine too closely. And for years, I did just that. I let the unease of that night settle in the back of my mind, a shadow lurking in the corners of my thoughts but never stepping into the light. Emma and I built a life together, one that, from the outside, looked perfect. We moved into a cozy house with a wraparound porch. We hosted dinner parties. We laughed. We fought. We made up. We had a son, Caleb, who became the center of our world. But marriage, I've learned, isn't just about love. It's about trust. And trust is a delicate thing, easier to break than to rebuild. I didn't realize how much of mine had cracked that night until the cracks started to widen. It started small. Little things. A text message she'd clear before I could see it. A name I didn't recognize flashing across her phone. Late nights at work, that became more frequent. And always, that same look in her eyes when I asked questions. She never answered too quickly. Never got angry or defensive. Instead, she smiled, kissed me, and offered explanations so reasonable that I felt foolish for ever doubting her. You're overthinking, love, she would say, cupping my face in her hands. You know you're the only one for me. And I believed her. Because I wanted to. But doubt is a poison. It seeps into your bones, spreads through your veins, and before you know it, you're drowning in it. The moment that finally shattered my illusion came on an ordinary Tuesday. I had taken the day off to spend with Caleb. He was 6 now, bright-eyed and full of questions about the world. We had spent the morning at the park, then stopped for ice cream before heading home. When we walked through the door, Emma was in the kitchen, her back to us, talking on the phone. I don't think she heard us come in. No, it was just once, she whispered. A pause. Then, softer. Okay, maybe twice. But it was the wedding, you know? It didn't count. It was tradition. I froze. Caleb tugged at my hand, but I couldn't move. My body had gone cold, my mind blank. Tradition? What the hell was she talking about? Before I could process it, she turned and saw me. Her face paled, her grip tightening on the phone before she slowly lowered it. Who was that? My voice came out steadier than I felt. She smiled. That same practiced, effortless smile. Just Laura. Lies. I had ignored the signs for years, but suddenly they all came rushing back at once. The disappearing act on our wedding night. The nervous glances. The secrets. Tradition. Something inside me whispered that I had to know. I had to dig deeper. And so, I did. But some truths aren't meant to be uncovered. And once you see them, you can never unsee them. There are moments in life that change everything. Moments where, in the span of a breath, the world you knew is torn apart, leaving you staring into the wreckage of what you thought was real. Hearing Emma whisper those words, "It was tradition," was one of those moments. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I let it fester. I went through the motions of the evening, playing with Caleb, pretending everything was fine. But inside, my mind was spinning. My stomach churned with the weight of something I couldn't name yet but could feel, deep in my bones. I needed answers. That night, after Emma fell asleep, I took her phone. It was a violation of trust, I know that. But what else was I supposed to do? Just pretend I hadn't heard what I heard? My hand shook as I scrolled through her messages. There were the usual ones, texts to Laura, to her coworkers, to our babysitter. And then there was him. The name was saved as just an initial A, but the messages told me everything I needed to know. A. I still think about that night. Emma, we promised never to talk about it. A. Come on. You don't miss it? Emma, it was one night. It didn't count. A. Then why are you still here, reading this? My chest tightened. My pulse roared in my ears. One night. I knew which night they were talking about. Our wedding night. I should have woken her up. Should have demanded the truth right then and there. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the screen, my stomach twisting in knots. I had spent years believing that night had been a small, insignificant moment. A minor mystery that didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But it did matter. It mattered more than anything. And I had to know the truth. The next day, I called Laura. She hesitated when she picked up, her voice cautious. Hey, everything okay? No, I said bluntly. I need to know what happened at the wedding. A long silence stretched between us. Then she sighed. You need to talk to Emma. I'm talking to you. She hesitated again. And that hesitation told me everything. She said it was a tradition. I pressed. What does that mean? Laura exhaled sharply, then lowered her voice. Look, it wasn't my place to tell you then, and it's not my place now. But if you really want to know, ask her about the bachelorette party. Ask her about her one last night of freedom. My blood ran cold. Because in that moment, I knew Emma had been with someone else. Not before we were married. During. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to Emma, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, feeling the warmth of her body beside mine. I had spent years loving this woman, building a life with her. And yet, at that moment, she felt like a stranger. Laura's words played on repeat in my head. Ask her about the bachelorette party. Ask her about her one last night of freedom. I had to know. The next morning, I waited until Caleb was at school before confronting her. She was standing at the kitchen counter, sipping her coffee, scrolling through her phone like nothing had changed. Like our entire marriage wasn't a house of cards waiting to collapse. Who is A? I asked. Her fingers stilled. Just for a second. A barely noticeable pause before she set her mug down. When she turned to me, her face was unreadable. What? I went through your phone. My voice was steady, though my hands were clenched into fists. I saw the messages. Tell me the truth, Emma. She exhaled slowly, pressing her lips together. I can't believe you. Don't. I cut her off. Don't make this about me. Just tell me the truth. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Fear. She knew. She knew the dam had broken, and there was no going back. Emma closed her eyes for a long moment before speaking. When she did, her voice was quiet. It was a tradition, she said. That word again. I gritted my teeth. Explain. She looked down, tracing patterns on the counter with her finger. The night before the wedding, she began, Laura and the others threw me a bachelorette party. It was supposed to be a fun, wild night. A final celebration before I got married. And there was this thing. A tradition, they called it. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. What kind of tradition? Emma hesitated. Then, finally, she said it. They called it one last night of freedom. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the counter to steady myself. She swallowed hard. They said a lot of brides do it. That it doesn't mean anything. That it's just a way to say goodbye to the past before stepping into the future. Her voice wavered. I was drunk. I was overwhelmed. And I let it happen. The words hung in the air like a noose around my neck. I stared at her, my mind screaming. With who? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Who? Emma. She finally met my gaze, her eyes glassy. It doesn't matter. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. It doesn't matter? My voice rose. You disappeared on our wedding night. You cheated on me before we even said our vows. And you're telling me it doesn't matter? Tears slipped down her cheeks. I didn't think it would ever come back to haunt us. I thought if I never spoke about it, it would go away. Go away. Like a stain you pretend isn't there. Like a lie you bury so deep, you start to believe it yourself. I took a shaky breath, my chest tight. Tell me the truth, Emma. A tear rolled down her face as she whispered, it was him. My blood ran cold. I knew exactly who she meant. I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to hear the name, to confirm what my gut was already screaming at me. But I had come too far to stop now. Emma stood frozen in front of me, her lips trembling, her eyes pleading. Maybe she thought that if she stayed silent long enough, I would back down, that I would decide the truth wasn't worth knowing. She was wrong. Say it, I demanded, my voice a low growl. Emma wiped at her tears. It was Alex. The floor beneath me might as well have disappeared. Alex. My best man. My oldest friend. The guy who stood next to me at the altar, smiling, patting me on the back, telling me I was the luckiest man alive. That Alex. I took a step back, as if distance could somehow make this less real. My chest felt like it was caving in. My mind flashed back to the wedding. The way Alex had hugged Emma that night, lingering just a second too long. The way he'd avoided eye contact with me the morning after, hungover and distant. The way Emma had disappeared for an hour, then returned looking disheveled and out of breath. I had ignored it all. Had convinced myself it was nothing. I had been a fool. How long? I asked, my voice hollow. Emma shook her head quickly. It wasn't like that. It was just that night. I swear. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Oh, that makes it so much better, Emma. My hands were shaking. Do you have any idea what you've done? Tears streamed down her face. It was a mistake. A horrible, stupid mistake. I thought it was part of the night. The tradition. The others were doing it too. I didn't think. You didn't think? My voice cracked. You didn't think about what this would do to me? To us. She sobbed into her hands, but I felt nothing but rage. You let me stand there, I hissed, in front of everyone, in front of God, and say vows that you had already broken. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. We stood there, both breathing hard, the weight of everything pressing down on us. Then a new thought hit me, slamming into my chest like a hammer. Caleb. I turned away from her, my mind spiraling. My son. My beautiful boy. The only thing in this world that had ever felt pure and untouchable. A horrible, soul-crushing thought crept into my mind. Was he even mine? The room blurred as I whispered, tell me he's mine, Emma. She flinched. And in that tiny, damning hesitation, before she even said a word, I knew. Silence. It filled the space between us, thick and suffocating. Emma didn't answer. Not right away. And that was all I needed to know. If Caleb were mine, if there wasn't a shred of doubt, she would have said it immediately. She would have shouted it, sworn it, fallen to her knees and begged me to believe her. But she didn't. Instead, she stood there, frozen, her lips slightly parted as if the words were caught in her throat. And that hesitation shattered me more than any confession ever could. I took a step back, my vision tunneling. Say something. She opened her mouth, closed it, swallowed. Then, in the smallest voice, she whispered, I don't know. The world tilted. You don't know. I repeated, barely recognizing my own voice. Emma wiped at her face, her shoulders shaking. I wasn't thinking about it then. I didn't. I never wanted to believe it was a possibility. A laugh, sharp and bitter, escaped me. A possibility. The word felt like poison in my mouth. Caleb was 6 years old. 6 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, birthdays, whispered I love yous. 6 years of looking into his bright, Innocent eyes, never questioning, never needing to question if he was mine. And now? Now my entire reality was crumbling beneath my feet. I turned away from her, gripping the edge of the table just to keep myself from falling. I need to know, I said. Emma let out a choked sob. Please, don't do this. He's your son. No matter what. No, I spun to face her. You don't get to tell me that. You don't get to decide what does or doesn't matter. Not after this. She flinched, her tears falling harder. I love you, she whispered. I never stopped. I didn't respond. Because right now, I wasn't sure if love even meant anything anymore. Without another word, I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. I drove for hours. Nowhere in particular, just away. Away from the house, away from Emma, away from the suffocating weight of the truth pressing down on my chest. The truth that had been there all along, buried under years of trust, love, and blind faith. I didn't know what hurt more, Emma's betrayal or the fact that I had never even thought to doubt Caleb's paternity. I had always assumed he was mine, the same way I had assumed my wife was faithful, the same way I had assumed my best man wasn't sleeping with her the night before I vowed to love her forever. Assumptions. That was all my marriage had been built on. And now? Now I needed certainty. It took 2 days before I went back home. 2 days of avoiding her texts, ignoring her calls, and driving past our house more times than I wanted to admit, staring at the windows like they held some kind of answer. When I finally walked through the door, Emma was there, standing in the kitchen. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, her hair a mess. She had been waiting. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. I went straight upstairs, into Caleb's room. He was playing with his toys, oblivious to the storm brewing between his parents. Hey, bud, I said, my voice tight. He looked up at me and grinned. Daddy. Daddy. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Come here for a second. He climbed onto my lap without hesitation, and I held him close, inhaling the familiar scent of his shampoo. He was my son. I had raised him, loved him, been there for him in every way a father could be. But was he mine? The doubt burned through me like acid. I pressed a kiss to the top of his head. Hey, buddy. I need to do something really quick, okay? It's like a little science test. It won't hurt, I promise. He nodded, completely unbothered, as I took the cheek swab and sealed it in the test kit I had picked up that morning. I held on to him for another minute, unwilling to let go. Then I stood up, my hand shaking as I walked back downstairs. Emma was waiting at the bottom. Her face crumpled when she saw the test in my hand. Please, she whispered. I didn't stop, didn't even look at her. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the lab. I had spent 6 years believing a lie. Now, I needed the truth. Waiting for the results was torture. Every minute stretched into an eternity, every hour felt like a lifetime. The world outside kept moving, cars honked, people laughed, the sun rose and set, but I was frozen, trapped in this unbearable limbo between the life I thought I had and the truth I wasn't sure I wanted. Emma tried to talk to me. She hovered in doorways, her eyes puffy, her voice shaking whenever she said my name. But I couldn't. I couldn't look at her without seeing Alex's hands on her. Couldn't hear her voice without remembering the lies she had fed me for years. So I avoided her. I slept in the guest room, barely spoke a word, kept my distance from her like she was a stranger and not the woman I had spent a decade loving. But Caleb was different. I still read him bedtime stories, still packed his lunch in the morning, still held his little hand when we crossed the street. Because no matter what that test said, I was still his father. Right? Right? I didn't know anymore. That doubt was eating me alive, turning something so simple, so pure, into a question I never should have had to ask. Was he mine? Or had I spent the last 6 years raising another man's son? 3 days after I sent in the test, I got the email. My stomach clenched as I stared at the screen, the words blurring together. Your DNA test results are ready. I sat there, frozen, my hand hovering over the mouse. I thought about what this meant. If Caleb was mine, it wouldn't erase Emma's betrayal. It wouldn't undo the lies. But at least, I would know that my son was truly my son. But if he wasn't? I exhaled shakily and clicked the email. The page loaded. And then I saw the result. The number was right there in front of me. Cold. Unforgiving. 0%. Not a single shared strand of DNA. Not my son. Not my blood. Not mine. I stared at the screen, the weight of those 2 numbers pressing down on my chest, stealing the air from my lungs. My hands went numb. My vision blurred at the edges. I read it again and again, but the result didn't change. It was final. Caleb wasn't mine. A sound clawed its way up my throat, half a gasp, half a broken sob, but I swallowed it down. My entire body felt wrong, like I wasn't inside of it anymore, like I was watching this moment happen to someone else. But it was happening to me, to my life, to my son. Except, he wasn't my son. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe, to think, to do something other than sit there drowning in the truth. But what the hell was I supposed to do now? Walk into his room and tell him I wasn't his father? Look into his wide, trusting eyes and say, "Sorry, kid. Turns out your real dad is the guy who slept with your mom the night before our wedding." I couldn't. I couldn't do it. Because no matter what that test said, no matter what the science showed, he was still my son. Wasn't he? I don't remember standing up. Don't remember moving. But somehow, I found myself in Caleb's room. He was sitting on the floor, playing with his action figures, completely unaware that his entire world had just shifted. That his father, the only one he had ever known, was now questioning everything. "Daddy." He beamed when he saw me. "Wanna play?" I knelt beside him, my throat tight. "Yeah, bud. I'd love to." For the next hour, I sat there, watching him, memorizing every little detail. The way he scrunched his nose when he was concentrating. The way he chewed on his lip when he was thinking. The way his face lit up whenever I laughed. He wasn't my blood, but he was still mine. Right? Right? Emma was waiting for me in the hallway when I stepped out of Caleb's room. She didn't speak, didn't ask, just stared at me with swollen, red-rimmed eyes. I didn't say anything either. I just walked past her, out of our bedroom, down the stairs, and out the front door. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do now. Because no matter what I chose, nothing would ever be the same again. I drove without a destination. Just me, the open road, and the crushing weight of a truth I never asked for. Caleb wasn't mine. No matter how many times I said it in my head, it still didn't feel real. 6 years. 6 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, birthday candles, whispered I love yous. 6 years of being his father. And now? Now I had a choice to make. Did I stay and pretend nothing had changed? Raise a child that wasn't mine, knowing that every time I looked at him, I would see Alex's shadow staring back at me? Or did I leave? Walk away from the life I had built, from the boy who called me daddy, from the woman who had shattered me? I pulled into an empty parking lot and killed the engine. My head fell against the steering wheel, my breath coming in shaky, uneven gasps. I could feel the rage burning in my chest, the betrayal twisting like a knife in my gut. But beneath all of it, beneath the fury and the pain, there was something else. Fear. Fear of what would happen next. Fear of what I was about to do. Fear of losing him. When I walked back into the house hours later, Emma was still awake, sitting on the couch, arms wrapped around herself. She looked up the second I stepped inside, her eyes searching mine. "Did you get the results?" she whispered. I nodded. She swallowed hard. And I didn't answer. Didn't need to. She knew. A sob broke from her lips, and she covered her mouth, her entire body shaking. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "I swear, I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted." "Why didn't you tell me?" My voice was hoarse. "Did you even consider it? Did you ever look at him and wonder if I did," she choked out. "Every single day. But I was terrified. Because I knew, if I told you, if you found out, I'd lose you." Tears blurred my vision. "You lost me anyway." Her face crumpled. What does that mean?" I exhaled shakily, my hands balling into fists. "It means I can't do this. Not with you." Emma let out a strangled sob. "Please." "No," I said firmly, shaking my head. "You don't get to beg now. You don't get to ask me to stay after what you did." I clenched my jaw, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I can't be your husband anymore." Her face twisted in pain, but she didn't argue, didn't fight. She just nodded, her shoulders slumping in defeat. I turned to walk away. But then she said the one thing that stopped me cold. "What about Caleb?" My entire body tensed. I had already made one decision. But this was the one that mattered most. I turned back to face her, my chest tight, my throat raw. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I do know one thing." She wiped her face, waiting. I met her eyes, my voice breaking. "He's still my son." Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Share this video with your loved ones. It might brighten their day or give them a new perspective. And before you go, check out the video on your screen. It's another heartfelt story you won't want to miss.